There are some cars which are designed to be driven on everyday roads, and there are some cars which aren't. When a major movie is being made, it's not unusual for a one-of-a-kind special custom vehicle to be required. The car might need to have a certain look or be capable of a certain stunt, and so a regular mass-produced car simply isn't up to the task. As cool as these purpose-built cars look, they were never designed to be made available to the general public. That means your chances of owning one are remote, but not out of the question. Check out the stories behind these iconic cars from hit 1990s movies. Christian Bale probably provided the most iconic Batman performance of the past few decades, but we'd have to put Michael Keaton's early 1990s incarnation of the character in second place. We'd also have to say that Keaton's Batman had the coolest Batmobile. Just look at this gorgeous version of the vehicle from the 1992 film Batman Returns. It would have been a tragedy if this beautiful car had been scrapped after filming Wrapped. And so comedian Jeff Dunham has made sure it avoided that fate. Dunham purchased the movie vehicle in 2011 and has since spent $500,000 refurbishing it. He's done such a good job that it's now been approved for him to drive on the road. The souped-up Batmobile now contains a Corvette engine and 5 cameras, which allow the driver a panoramic view of the world outside the car. The real Batman would be proud of that kind of technology. Sadly, he wasn't quite able to get the authorities to sign off on the idea of using the grappling hook to swing around corners. During the Pierce Brosnan James Bond movie The World Is Not Enough, the world's most famous secret agent drove a BMW Z8. BMW made lots of Z8s between 1999 and 2003, so what made this one so special? The answer is that at the time of the movie being filmed, the real car was only at the testing stage. All BMW had was a prototype shell of the vehicle and one running test car. They weren't willing to hand over the test car to the movie studio, and so the Z8 seen on screen in the film is actually a completely unique kit car, made from the shell and any pieces the production company could find. 2 versions of the Z8 were ultimately made for the film, one of which can be found at the London Film Museum. The other was sold into private ownership during an auction in 2012. It wasn't roadworthy at the time of the sale, but there's nothing to say the new owner hasn't done anything to change that fact in the years since then. Here's a piece of movie trivia that Batman fans probably know already. The Batmobile is never used twice. That means every time there's a new Batman movie, there's a new Batmobile, and so the old one is surplus to requirements. We've already seen what happened to the Batmobile from Batman Returns. Now here's the Batmobile from Batman Forever. The sleek, cartoonish version of the car isn't to everybody's tastes. Some people think it looks futuristic and edgy, but others think the fin makes it look like a shark instead of a bat. Perhaps that's why it only fetched $165,000 at auction in 2015. When it was built in 1995, it's understood to have cost $2.5 million to put together. The vehicle has a fully functional Chevrolet V8 engine and could be driven on the road. But strangely, Warner Brothers have made it a condition of the sale that the new owner can never drive it in public. That makes it little more than an expensive garage toy. The 1997 version of the Batmobile, built for the disastrous movie Batman and Robin, was a more traditional offering. The producers didn't want a repeat of the controversy that came with the design of the 1995 car, and so opted for something bulkier and more functional, taking design inspiration from the D-Type Jaguar. It was the largest Batmobile ever built, with a length that exceeded 30 feet, and was capable of accelerating up to 140 miles per hour. That's impressive pace for a movie prop. It may have gone even faster if it didn't have enormous fins at the back, which caused some aerodynamic drag. Even the wheels on this car had to be custom made, with a 22-inch diameter and treads that were stamped with the Bat logo. The 6 exhausts at the back of the vehicle, which form a V-shape, aren't just there for decoration. They're the only way of ensuring the car moves in a straight line when it accelerates. It looked great, but wasn't all that practical. When Knight Rider was reimagined as Knight Rider 2000 for a 1991 TV movie, it was decided that a brand new car would be required to replace the iconic black kit car from the original series. That car was a Pontiac Banshee, or to be more specific, a Pontiac Banshee 4, as unveiled by the company in 1988. For its time, this car was very futuristic. It was sleek, it had a triangular hood, and it had a heads-up display system which would be considered advanced technology even in this day and age. At 201 inches long, it was a beast of a vehicle and represented a leap forward in technology. The steering wheel alone had 20 buttons on it, some of which operated numerous onboard cameras. The version of the car that appeared in the TV movie was heavily modified, although it turned out to be impractical for some of the filming. In many scenes, a very well-disguised 1991 Dodge Stealth ES had to be used as a stand-in. The character Blade never had a car when he appeared in comic books, but it was decided that one would be required when the first Wesley Snipes-led Blade movie was released in 1998. What kind of vehicle would a super cool half-human, half-vampire character drive? Instead of a modern supercar, the film's producers decided to take a retro approach and give him a black 1968 Dodge Charger. Externally, the car was completely authentic, but inside it was equipped with a variety of superhero weapons, including UV lights to melt vampires and a holster upon which Blade could mount his shotgun. The same car was used during the filming of all three of the movies, with the only difference between the film vehicle and the kind you'd drive on the road being a 383 Magnum engine, instead of the mass-produced 440 six-pack. A private owner from Canada purchased the vehicle after production wrapped on the third movie. But by 2006, it was available on Craigslist for a mere $40,000. It's unknown what happened to it after that. The DeLorean is a car that was made famous by the Back to the Future movies. Every time you see a DeLorean, you can't help but wonder whether it's really a time machine. Only one of the DeLorean vehicles used in the movies has ended up in private hands, and it's hiding a big secret. It isn't actually a DeLorean at all. A father and son from Massachusetts went 50-50 on buying the prop from the third Back to the Future movie in 2011 and paid a total of $440,000 for the privilege. That's a high price to pay for a car that's actually a cunningly disguised Volkswagen Beetle. The story here is that the DeLorean DMC12 couldn't cope with driving across the desert sets that the third movie featured, and so a solution was required. That solution involved taking the steel body of the DeLorean and turning it into a tube chassis around the VW Beetle. The Beetle is much more suited to being a dune buggy, and so it could perform the duties required of it easily. Here's a famous movie car you can make yourself if you have the time, money, and inclination. The iconic Jeep from the original 1992 Jurassic Park movie. In America, there's a small group of enthusiasts who devote their time to taking Jeeps and turning them into Jurassic Park cars through modification. In essence, all the vehicles are Jeep Wranglers, but contain a few differences from the models which were intended for home use. For a start, they have a special custom dashboard, and the tops were removed to make way for special glass panels to allow the park's visitors a better view of the dinosaurs. They're a distinctive type of Jeep, too. The YJ body variant of the Wrangler was sold from 1987 to 1995, and is so far the only open-top version to come with square headlights, a style which was more commonly seen on Wagoneers or Cherokees. Some of the original Jeeps from the 90s films are known to be at Universal Studios, although they've been maintained and modified heavily since their time in front of the cameras. Men in Black was one of the biggest science fiction hit movies of the 1990s when it was released in 1997. The film starred Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones as a pair of secret agents tasked with keeping the world safe from alien invasions, using all the latest technology to do so. What kind of space-aged vehicle would they drive around in then? Well, what else other than the 1986 Ford LTD Crown Victoria? In the film, the car contained a special button which enabled it to enter turbo mode and drive upside down. Sadly, the prop car used in the film doesn't have any such magical powers, although it has been bulked up and modified to make it seem more high-tech. The prop turned up for sale on Craigslist a few years ago, along with a certificate of authenticity and a collection of other memorabilia from the film. Sadly, it only has 180 horsepower, so that turbo mode is out of the question. Most movie trucks from action films are large, powerful vehicles, but the one used in Universal Soldier was a cut above the rest. It was originally a Kenworth K100. Movie enthusiasts may already know that this is exactly the same type of truck that was driven by the T-1000 during the iconic chase scene in Terminator 2. But even the Terminator version of the truck can't hold a candle to this beast. A 2-inch coating of solid steel was applied to the K100 base and then sculpted to give the truck a futuristic military finish. Once that was done, an expanding 12-foot trailer was added to give the impression that the truck was wide enough to host the command post, which was supposed to exist inside of it. This reinforced model was used to shoot most of the scenes in the movie, apart from the climactic shot where it plunges into a canyon and is destroyed. That was a special effect achieved by using a scale model of the truck only 1/10 of the original size. That means that the real truck wasn't destroyed. But sadly, we don't have any information regarding where it might be now. There weren't many movies released during the 1990s that were funnier than Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery. If you've seen the movie, you already know that Austin's vehicle of choice was a 1970 E-Type Jaguar, which he'd had extensively modified to suit his somewhat eccentric tastes. In the movies, it's known as the Jaguar. Our British viewers don't need that word translating for them. If you're not British and you don't understand it, we're afraid it's too rude as a concept for us to repeat here. It took 400 man-hours for the producers of the film to convert the 4.2-liter Jaguar into a car worthy of a secret agent. The Union flag livery is the most obvious and visible piece of custom design work, but there's also a custom leather interior, a red convertible top which is handmade, one-of-a-kind floor carpets, and chrome wheels you won't find on any other Jaguar car. It's been seen on eBay a few times over the years and is now in the hands of a private collector. A baby blue AMC Pacer from 1976 might seem more like the kind of vehicle you'd take to the scrapyard instead of paying big money for. But that's only if you don't know the provenance. This particular vehicle is better known as the Mirthmobile. If that doesn't ring any bells, how about we tell you it hosted the most iconic version of Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody ever seen on a cinema screen? That's right, it's the car from Wayne's World. The car was originally pink, but was painted blue for its starring role. Other additions made specifically for the film include tow hooks, flame livery, and a hole in the roof that allowed for the licorice dispenser to be fitted. Sadly, the licorice dispenser was never really functional and is no longer inside the vehicle. It was last seen at a public auction in 2016, where it sold for a surprising $37,400.